Hey everyone, so around this time of year I start to worry a bit, Halloween, spooky season, it gets me nervous. Why? Well, often I talk about the Entity, the fictional spider god that rules over the realm of Dead by Daylight. The Entity is present across time and space, and there's nowhere to hide from it. Maybe it's just nerves, but it got me thinking. I've made a bunch of videos theorizing on how to defeat this thing, which characters could do it, and so on. I'm just a little worried that if somehow this thing ends up as real, I'm gonna be on the wrong end of some spidery claws. I thought today we should do something nice for the Entity, an offering of sorts. So I'm making a Dead by Daylight meal. A meal comprised of 33 different ingredients, each ingredient representing a killer of the realm. It's gonna be a challenge to combine these, but let's see how it goes. I'm not the best cook by any stretch, so let's see what happens. For Trapper, of course, I went with gummy bears. What represents good old Trapper better than a gummy bear? Wraith, I went with a bell pepper. Representative of his bell, of course. For Billy, I went with milk. This is kind of a very specific one, but this is representative of his milkman outfit, which I think is one of his best. Nurse, we have wine. Now, this is something I could imagine her drinking, but it's also something she does when she blinks. She lets out a very loud whine, so I thought that kind of worked on two levels. For Myers, we have a pumpkin, representative of Halloween itself, of course him coming from the Halloween franchise. For Hag, we have eggs. She has lots of egg add-ons, the most out of any of the characters, so there we go, egg. Doctor, we have a lemon. This one was meant for the kind of sharp jolt it gives you when you taste a lemon. Sort of like an electric shock, like its power. For Huntress, we have mushrooms. I wasn't too sure what to do, but I thought as she's kind of a scavenger and a hunter, it makes sense she would eat something like mushrooms. She also has a mushroom add-on, so that's what I was going with. I kind of wanted to have a little variation in the ingredients, so I've gone with a mushroom. For Bubba, we have chili paste. I didn't want to do a full chili because that's already kind of a meal in itself, so we have chili paste that we can add into something. For Freddy, we have pepperoni. Now, Freddy's visuals are actually based on pepperoni pizza, believe it or not, so pepperoni. For Pig, we have bacon. Pretty self-explanatory. For Clown, we have chocolate fingers. For Spirit, we have cherries. Now, this is kind of meant to be a link to cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms are a big thing in her lore, so I thought that worked kind of well. For Legion, we have sugar. Legion have the zoomies, so sugar. They also have that suspicious cold dirt add-on. For Plague, we have pesto, because it looks a little like vomit. For Ghostface, we have kind of a strange one, but we have vanilla extract. Now, this is because he has a perfume add-on that mentions he used to wear a really strong smelling cologne so that victims could smell him. So vanilla has a very strong flavor, and I also thought because it's kind of like see-through, it's kind of ghost-like. I don't know, I thought that worked. For Demogorgon, we have nougat, I think it's pronounced. Let me just look it up real quick. Nougat pronunciation. Was it nougat? This is what Dustin feeds his pet Demogorgon in Stranger Things Season 2. For Oni, we have chili peppers. These specifically are jalapenos. I got red ones as well to represent the rage. This one's meant to just be like fiery rage, burning, For Slinger, we have whiskey. He of course has his whiskey add-on, something described to be a comfort to Caleb. For Pyramid Head, we have tortilla chips. Mainly for the shape, which is kind of in a triangle for the pyramid head. For Blight, we have spices, and specifically cayenne pepper, because I thought it represented that kind of orangey look well for Blight. For Twins, we have potatoes. Now, this one is kind of the same as Huntress. They're sort of scavengers in their lore, so I thought something like a potato would make sense. They make like forest stews and stuff, so I thought something like that would make sense. Again, it's also going to help me a bit when trying to make a coherent meal. For Trickster, we have marshmallows. This again is in reference to his marshmallow skin. And yeah, that's about it. For Nemesis, I went with white chocolate. Now you may be wondering why, but I picked this because it reminded me of his teeth. like pieces of white chocolate, so there's that. For Pinhead, we have a whole pineapple, because of course it's reminiscent of his Pinhead. For Artist, I went with soy sauce. I wanted kind of an inky looking substance, so I thought soy sauce worked well. For Sadako, we have salt water. I'm basically just mixing water and salt to make salt water. This is a big part of her lore. It saves her when the entity pulls her out the well, and all the stuff with brine and whatnot. For Dredge, we have turkey. This, of course, in reference to people commonly referring to him as looking like a turkey. For Wesker, we have instant noodles, because 7 minutes. 7 minutes is all he can spare to make a meal for you. For Tahos, we have beef stock. Again, this is kind of like a helpful ingredient, but it's also referencing the, I think it's called the beef tallow mixture, which is the offering to get to the Borgo. So I thought that worked well for him. For Skull Merchant, we have salmon. Now, this is because the salmon skin looks a bit like her mask. I appreciate everyone helping me finding some good ideas for these characters. Skull Merchant was one I honestly had no idea with, so good shout there. For Singularity, we have Meatballs. Meatballs, of course, look a bit like his balls he can shoot out. I forget what they're called. His bull power. And then Xenomorph, we have an onion. And this one is because the Xenomorphs have acidic blood. When you cut them, they spew out the blood. It's like a defense mechanism. And like onions, you cut an onion and you start crying. So I think that works well too. So that's our ingredients. And yeah, we're going to see how this goes. It's obviously a lot. We're going to be making a starter, a main course, and a dessert. It's still going to be a little too much, I think, to fit into one thing. So it's probably going to look a bit messy, a little bit crowded. But I hope it goes well, and I hope you enjoy. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to go into IRL version of me cooking. And hopefully it all looks good. Maybe I'll put some Dead by Daylight gameplay in the corner. You know, like a little bit of a Subway Surfers type thing. For anyone who finds the cooking too boring. Alright, let's get into it. I think I'm going to go for a pumpkin soup. So that's what we're going with. The first thing we need to do is we need to cut off the top. Now this is the sharpest knife I have, but I'm already seeing it's going to be quite a struggle. Just got to keep scooping. Okay, so there the seed's gone. So we're going to cut up potatoes. Nice small sections. We can do fairly thick pieces, I think. That should be plenty, I think. That seems like enough. Next up, we're going to do... what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I completely forgot what we're going to... Turkey, that's it. We're going to put in some of the meat, because we kind of have too much meat, really. So we've now cubed some turkey up, and that's all ready to go too. Okay, so the next thing we need to cut up is onion. I don't know where I put the onion. Oh god. Oh my god. Oh. The last few times I've cut onions, they haven't affected me, but this time... Oh my... Oh god. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus. Oh god. Oh. I hope the suffering of this is worth it. Oh. Oh god. Oh god. Oh. Why is it so, why are these onions so powerful? That should be enough onion anyway. Okay, so admittedly, not looking the nicest at the moment, but this is just a starter course. It's not going to start coming together till the vegetables are actually cooked. So don't worry. Next, we're putting in the pumpkin. Nice big chunks of pumpkin. Lovely, lovely. The turkey we're going to put in a lot later. Because that really doesn't need to go in for a while. Okay, so now we're going to start mashing as the vegetables become a little bit softer, and then very shortly we'll add some milk. Yeah, that's basically the gist. Okay, so we mixed in some more pumpkin and some more milk, and now we've got a pretty good texture, kinda, we're getting there.
Yeah, soup is looking pretty good. Last thing we need to add is the turkey. Put that in now. Little taste test. Yeah, pretty good. Kylo's come to say hi for the video. Hello. Kylo. Kylo. Wanna say hello, buddy? The pumpkin soup. Or pumpkin, vegetable, and turkey soup. Yeah, it seems to have turned out pretty well, I think. The texture's good.
Next up, I started cutting the peppers, ready to be stuffed. I then coated the insides with pesto.
Okay, for the next thing, we're going to be cooking up some salmon. I should really stop talking before I do that, shouldn't I? I've cut the salmon into slightly smaller pieces, so they can cook hopefully a little bit easier. And then yeah, we're going to let those rest for a little second, and we'll be right back. So, salmon is coming across. Salmon is coming along nicely. We're going to start mashing it up soon, ready to go into the peppers. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start just mashing it up. Alright, then we'll put this over onto the peppers in a second.
Once the salmon was done, I then put the salmon into the peppers, and then later on into the oven.
The first thing we're going to do for the main course is cut up the potatoes into slices, fairly thin slices like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay pieces of pepperoni in between to make a little kind of sandwich thing. And they're going to be on the side of the main kind of the main dish, which is noodles and meatballs. Essentially. So we'll do a few of those. I won't do too many because we don't need that many, but I'll do a few of those. Okay, the next idea I had was a little bit odd, but I want to coat the meatballs basically in some like flavoring, I suppose. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to use the cayenne pepper, first of all. That makes sense, right? But then we're also going to crush down the Doritos, or the tortillas, they're not actually Doritos, the tortillas, and we're going to kind of combine them together, and we're going to coat the meatball in them. So it should be interesting. I hope it tastes nice. So we're literally, what we're going to do is we're literally just like crush them in our hands here, like this, until we have a relatively fine powder. And it should give them a nice kind of crunch. So, yeah, that's the idea. Then we're going to add the cayenne pepper, just like that. And then we're going to take one of our lovely meatballs, we're going to pop it in, and we're going to just coat it up with the spicy dust. So there we go. And that produces a very nice, spicy looking meatball.
I also cut a few mushrooms up.
Okay, so now we're going to start with the noodles. So we've got some more salt water, which we're going to pour in here, and that's what we're going to boil the noodles in. We are going to have to get a bit more, I think, even, so we'll do that. We're also going to whack the rest of the beef stock in there, give it some flavour. Okay, so now potatoes are going to go in, and also the mushroom. Okay, so that's boiling, and now we're going to put the noodles in. There we go. This is also where the wine comes in. We're going to cook these in a little bit of wine. I say a little bit, we're going to put all of it in. And that should help add to the flavour a little bit. Oh, that's already a very lovely smell. We're going to whack in a little bit of soy sauce, just to add to the noodles that little bit. Now we're going to take the spicy meatballs and we're going to put them in too. And there we go. The jalapenos are also going to go in to add to the spice a little bit. The rest of this is going to go a little bit in here and then a little bit in the noodles too. Next up we have the chili, or the chili paste. Oh, there we go. Next thing we're doing now is preparing the egg fried rice. So we got the eggs ready. And, not rice, sorry, noodles, egg fried noodles.
After the potatoes were done, I took them out and I laid down the pepperoni.
Okay, so now we're on to the dessert. Looking a little bit messy. Got a lot of cleaning up to do. But yeah, first we're going to melt down the chocolate. There is some biscuit in there, so I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. But I guess we'll see. While it's melting, we're also going to put in a little bit of sugar. Just a tiny bit. Okay, that was too much.
Whilst the chocolate was melting, I began cutting up some marshmallows. I then also cut up the pineapple.
Okay, so I'm now in the process of doing the jam. So I'm currently mashing, which is pineapple and cherries, by the way, I put in. And I also put in a bit more water.
Now that the chocolate was melted, I began coating the melted chocolate and biscuit pieces onto the nougat. I then lined it with some marshmallows, placing a few gummy bears on top. And there we go. This was the final product of the meal. The pumpkin soup overall was, not too bad. It was a bit thick, but it was still pretty tasty. I'm actually quite surprised by how good it tasted, despite its oversaturation of ingredients, I would say. The stuffed peppers were maybe the highlight of the whole meal. They were very simple, just being made of pepper, pesto, salmon, and with a side of lemon. However, they tasted pretty great. The side, pepperoni and potato slices were okay. They didn't taste the best. I kind of needed to cook the potato a little longer. The main course, despite looking like an absolute mess, was actually really good. It tasted really good. And it was probably because it had a whole mess of sugary and salty things in. Is probably why it tasted good. But yeah, good. It was also a very strong taste though. The soy sauce was very present, it was very spicy, and you could taste a bit of the wine too. Overall though, pretty nice. We then had the dessert, and to be honest, this was the low point of the meal, I think. I feel like I should have gone in a different route with this one. It really did not taste good. The main thing was like far too chewy. The melted chocolate was nice, and some of the gummy bears, but altogether, not a good combination. And then the side, I tried to make this kind of jam. It didn't work out too well. I tried to thicken it up with some stuff and then add a few more chunks, try and give it some more flavor. It didn't really taste much. It wasn't that good. Not particularly nice. So yeah, that was kind of a shame. Not the best ending, but overall, I think it's a good meal. I'm happy to present this to the entity, although I admittedly ate quite a lot of it. Alright, well, that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed this slightly different video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.